Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amanda Heck, and today I'm going to be discussing the impact of Indiana's political stigma on high school students' overall civic engagement. Now, before I begin, there's two important key things to know about my great state of Indiana. That we have a lot of corn, but we're also one of the first states to turn red upon the closing of polls on election night. Why the second thing is so important to know is because it highlights the lack of political diversity in my state, which impacts high school students' overall access to political discussion. Now, before I begin onto my research question itself, it's important to understand some key background. Indiana has one of the lowest civic health indexes in the nation. In 2022, we were ranked 50th in the nation for voting turnout. But why my question is so important to address currently is because in 2024, my state legislators passed a bill titled Senate Bill 202. This bill ultimately created political oversight into school curriculum and has led to a lack of intellectual openness in discussions in the classroom, especially on issues of race and sexual orientation. My question is not only important to look at in context of Indiana, but in the social science field itself. It has been well determined through many studies and pieces of literature that discussion is a key factor for high school students' civic health and civic engagement, and it leads to the development of critical thinking skills. However, there's been very little studies conducted or literature published on how a state's political leaning or political tilt might impact a high school student's ability to access such discussions and how that might impact a high school student's long-term civic engagement. My research hopes to fill in that gap. This moves me on to my question. In the conservative state of Indiana, how does the perceived political stigma about political discussion impact high school students' overall willingness to participate in civic engagement organizations? I believe that if Indiana high school students ultimately feel like the environment around them does not encourage diverse discussion on political issues, they're going to be less likely to engage in civic organizations. To address my research question, I'm using a mixed method approach, breaking it into two phases. Phase one is a quantitative study. I'm going to distribute a Google survey to 200 to 300 Indiana high school students across the state representative of various demographics. In this, I'm going to establish a baseline looking at the discussions at schools as well as overall access to political clubs. Using a multiple choice question, I'm going to evaluate things such as perceived political stigma using the Likert scale. My second phase will be a qualitative study. In this, I'm going to use focus group discussions to ensure truthfulness in previous responses, as well as to provide some insight into peer norms that high school students in Indiana face. These 60 students will be selected based on phase one and representative of Indiana's demographic. Thank you, guys.